Now let's start talking about the EVM or earned value management and schedule monitoring. If you recall that we have, let's say, introduced the SPI, the let's say the SV, and the back and the AC or estimated amount of to complete the project based on time. So this is mainly used here in earned value, let's say, earned value management and schedule monitoring. So earned value management or AVM, it integrates the scope, the schedule, and cost performance. In this video, I need you to be like having a full attention because we are going to cover the schedule performance index or the SPI to measure the schedule efficiency, also forecasting the project completion to predict the final delivery timelines, as well as managing the schedule risks that is used by end value data to having, say, proactive control. So again, in the project management, it's not enough to simply track how work has been completed. We must also assess whether the project is progressing according to the planned schedule. Earned value management or EVM provides a quantitative way to measure the schedule performance and predict future trends. This ensures that the project managers can identify the schedule deviations early and take corrective actions to keep the project on track. Let's now understand these key concepts of the AVM on scheduling. So the key components of AVM scheduling, including the PV or the planned value, and the planned value here, you can consider it's the authorized budget for scheduled work. Also, you have this earned value or EV, which is the total value or the value of actual completed work against the planned schedule. And the actual cost, which the AC, it's the total cost spent for the completed work. And to calculate the SPI, if you recall, when we talked the SPI, we say that it's the EV, let's say divided by the PV or the planned value. When we talked about the SV or the schedule variance, which is the SV, we talked about saying that it's EV minus the PV or the planned value. And how to interpret to understand, let's say the or to interpret the results. Again, when we say that when the SPI is greater than one, it means that the project is ahead of schedule. Then you as a project manager has nothing to do because your project is ahead of schedule. However, on the other hand, let's say if the SPI is, let's say, or is less than one value, it means that the project is behind the schedule. So you as a project manager, you need to apply these compression techniques. We talked about the fast tracking, crashing, and other, resource leveling and resource smoothing to ensure that your SPI goes equal to one or, let's say, greater than one. And when you see the SPI is equal to one, it means that the project is exactly on schedule. So remember these, how to interpret these and how to read these results to make you understand what to do at the project if it's delayed or if it's ahead of schedule. So the SPI is greater than one, the project is ahead of schedule. SPI is less than one, it means the project is behind the schedule. And if the SPI is equal to one, it means that the project exactly on the schedule. Again, the AVM here helps the project managers to compare the actual progress and with the planned progress. If the earned value, which is the EV, is higher than the planned value, it means that the project is ahead of schedule. And if it's lower, the project is falling behind. So understanding the SPI meaning enables a proactive decision making to address the schedule variances before they become critical. Let's now look here to one of these examples where we have to calculate the SPI or schedule performance index. An example here, let's say that we have a planned value of 50,000, let's say US dollars. And the earned value here is the 40,000 US dollars. How we can calculate the SPI or the schedule performance index is by let's say dividing the earned value, which is 40,000, divided by the planned value, which is the PV, and then we divide the 40,000 by 50,000 and we get an SPI of zero point 0.8 SPI. 0 0.8 SPI, it means that the project is falling behind the schedule. So you need now to apply these corrective actions depending on the cost of the project that you have, depending on the constraint of the project. You need to apply one of these techniques that we have covered, like the schedule crashing or let's say fast tracking, whatever let's say tool that you can use to bring back SPI to reach at least to 1 or 1 plus, so that your project will be ahead of schedule. So in the example in front of you here, since the SPI is zero point 0.8, which is less than 1, the project is behind schedule, and a corrective action is needed to realign with the baseline. This is how you can calculate the SPI or the schedule performance index using the planned value or PV and the earned value. How the EVM can help you on forecasting the project completion date. So the key formulas here we can use is the estimated time to complete, or ETC, based on the SPI. So again, there is a new concept here. It's called estimated time to complete, which is ETC. We also have this estimated completion date. We're gonna discuss all of these formulas in more in depth, but rarely I've seen one of these, let's say PMP exam questions asking you to forecast the project completion using the EVM. But you need to be familiarized yourself. You might look for some examples to find how, let's say, to apply these ETC based on SPI. But at the end of the day, all of these, let's say, inputs are going to be provided at the exam, like the SPI or what, let's say, the estimated time to complete. And you might, need to let's say, to calculate the ETC based on the SPI that we have shown you how to calculate. So also the cost, the CV or the cost variance, and the let's say the CPI or the cost performance index. We're gonna cover it when we let's say go to the controlling the costs. But this is mainly what's gonna be at let's say at the exam. So just spend some time to understand how this calculation works in order to make it easier for you in real world, also in exam. So to calculate the ETC here, we say that the estimated time to complete is the remaining work divided by the SPI, or the schedule performance index. And if you want to determine the new completion date, you need to think of the original duration, okay, the original duration of your schedule, then multiply it by 1 divided by the SPI. And here the priority goes to the 1 divided by the SPI, and then you get the result, and then you multiply it by the original duration to determine the new completion date. Based on that you can interpret the results and take corrective action if the, let's say, the project is expected to finish late or the project is ahead of schedule. So you don't need to do anything on it. Now let's talk about let's say identifying and managing the schedule risks using AVM. So how AVM helps you identify and manage, let's say, the schedule related risks. Key schedule related risks and monitoring, and that you can cover it through the use of AVM. First is that you can um, uncover the risk of delays in critical path activities. How you can detect that? In case of that you have a low SPI or low schedule performance index on critical path tasks, That increases the overall project risk. Also, we have the resource bottlenecks. This is one of these risks that where the AVM can, let's say, uncover to you. So the resource bottlenecks, it's like insufficient resource leading to schedule, let's say, slippings. And the final, let's say, schedule risk that you can monitor it and you can discover it through the use of AVM is the scope changes. Let's say that uncontrolled changes or uncontrolled requests or features or whatever changes that could impact the schedule estimate. So the AVM will help you to uncover these scope changes in case if that your work isn't getting completed and without, let's say, accommodating these new changes without following the schedule or the change control process. These scope changes will be uncovered when applying the AVM. Again, AVM is a powerful tool for identifying the schedule risks early. By tracking the SPI trends, the project managers can pinpoint where corrective action is needed, whether it's a resource adjustment, schedule compression, or additional risk mitigation strategies. Now let's talk about trend analysis when measuring the schedule performance. So the trend indicators, think of improving SPI or the